Okay, I am apparently live. Who's on? Who is on? It says here I've got... Oops. Turn off the noise. Can't have that same mistake as last time. Right, one waiting. That's probably me. So it looks like I'm talking to myself. Am I talking to myself? Right. So today I want to talk about hacking and writing really crappy code. Hello, Amit. So in order to write some crappy code, we're going to need a server to put it on. So let's log into DigitalOcean, which makes it easy to create servers. So there's me, and I'll just log into my account here. I know it's Amit. Right, so I'm going to create what they call a droplet, which is actually a virtual machine. And I'll use CentOS. Use the absolute cheapest. That's $5 a month. But it's actually going to cost me less than 1 cent because, or about 1.5 cents, because we'll run this for 2 hours and then I'll get rid of it. Right, and let's put it in London so it's close to us. And I'll use my standard SSH key. And I don't care about the name. So let's create that. Now, so this will create a server that we can then start installing stuff on. And I'll have an IP address in just a minute. Yoink, there goes me again. Just waiting for the IP address. How are you all doing? Locked away in your rooms. This must be the most exciting part of your week. For you. Okay, I've got an IP address. So let's get into that. If I do root at that, then I should be able to get in. Just make a bit more space here. Alright, are you sure you want to continue connecting? Yes, I am. Okay, I'm into the server now. So we've just created a new server and I've just logged into it. So maybe I should have chosen a smaller name. So first thing I'm going to do is install a web server. See, if I take that IP address and we just go to it, there's nothing there. So we need to install a web server so that we can connect to a web server. So yum install, I'm going to keep this simple and just do HTTPD. So that's the Apache web server. And I'll also want Vim, and I also want PHP, and MySQL server, and MySQL client. And I think we also need HTTPD PHP. I think that's what it's called. Let's see now in a moment. I got it. Can we read? Everything seems fine, yep. Unable to find a match for HTTPD PHP. That's okay. We'll just do without that. Now, enabling module stream. So what have we got here? Let's scroll up. HTTPD, MySQL, MySQL server, PHP, Vim. And what else is interesting here? Nothing much. Okay, PHP FPM. Alright, fine. Go! Okay. And that should be it. We have 3 seconds. We have an installed web server. So I need to turn it on. We'll just wait for that to finish. What is it doing? It seems to have stuck at the last bit. Alright, there we are. Running scripts. 15. Okay, nearly there. 57, 59. Alright. So the different parts that we have there, the HTTPD is Apache, which is a web server. It's like when your browser connects to a website, what you're actually doing is you're asking a web server. You're saying to a web server, can you please give me the details of that page? So we're installing a web server, which is basically the answer side of that, which comes back and says yes or no, or ignores you completely. We're hoping that it's not going to just do the ignoring part. MySQL server. Okay, MySQL is a database server. Now, a database server is like a huge load of notes that you just keep somewhere. All right, we have that installed now, and we'll see what all that is in a moment. So first off, I need to service enable HTTPD. Blah 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 blah. What does that mean? Maybe I had it the wrong way around. Okay. Alright, well I've just started, with that line there, I've just started the web server. So that means I should be able to reload this page, and we now have a running web server. Cool. And now I need to start MySQL. Which is taking longer than usual. Okay, we're up and running. Okay, so now that's a MySQL database. Hello, who is GangsterJF anyway? GangsterJF, what's your name? And right, let's write some code. So by default, the web server has all its files in var www html. So I'll go in there and we see there is nothing in there. So I'm going to put in a file called index.html, and I'll just say hello in it. And we'll see what happens now if I reload this page. Hello. So we have that. Now, I'm just going to see now if PHP is working. PHP is a programming language, so it's what we need. If we're going to hack something, you need something to hack. So we've installed PHP, now we need to make sure that it's actually running. So delete that index and create a new one, index.php. Andrew. Alright. So index.php. And let's see, echo PHP info. This should give us a lot of stuff if this works. Yay! So PHP is working. Now, let's start hacking. So, right, now a common programming thing would be to, let's say, create a list of users. I'm not going to bother doing all logins and stuff like that yet. We might do that a bit later on. But I'm going to do something very simple. We're going to create a simple piece of... oh, by the way, that IP address there is live. If you go to that in your browsers, you will be actually connect to this server. So I'm going to create a database now of names. Okay, so we'll just log into MySQL. And I didn't give it a username and password, so it's just, I'm straight in. And if I show databases, then we'll see it is just the standard default database that come with a fresh installation. I'm going to create a database, and we'll call it CoderDojo, because I'm full of invention. And then we'll start using that database and create a table. And we're going to call this users. Now, when you're creating a database table, it's standard to always have an ID, and that is an integer, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's auto increment, so we don't have to think about it. It will just give you the next number each time we create a new one. And it's a primary key, which you don't need to know right now, but it basically speeds things up. And we'll create a name. We're just going to give it a varchar 255, so you can't put in anything longer than 255 characters. You know, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use text because we're trying not to be smart here. We're trying to do some damage. So name text. Text is what you use if you're lazy and you don't know how long somebody's going to be, and you just think, oh, I'll just give it text, whatever. Give it a couple of sheets. You know, you don't want somebody filling in their name on a few sheets. It really should only take up one line, but if you're lazy and you don't want to think how long is a line, well then, oh, here, have a book. Fill that in. Alright, so we'll just leave it as simple as that. Okay. Now, if I select everything from users, you'll see there's nothing in it. And just to give you an example of what it looks like if something's in it, insert into users, set name equals okay. And now we'll just do the select everything again, and you can see it automatically got an ID, and there's my name. Right, now we want to put that onto the website, so let's do that. So from the web page, delete everything. I'm just going to make this into some valid HTML. Doc type HTML. Head, body, and slash HTML. Okie dokie. Right, so names. We'll just say names here, and I'm just going to put in some PHP now. And I've forgotten how to connect to a database, so let's just look that up. php.net, and I think it's MySQL nd connect. Let's use MySQL connect. Right, so just grab that code and stick it in here. Now, it's going to be root and no password because I didn't set one up, and the database is CoderDojo. Now, feel free to hack if you want. That's what this is for. Alright. I'm not going to bother with any of that. And next bit is, let's see what else we have in here. Let's connect, get you out of the way. Don't like them. Right, let's look at what else we had over here. See, oh, there's MySQL ND right there. MySQL. I usually use a small library that I wrote a long time ago and that I've been just keeping up to date since then. Right, MySQL queries. So we'll do this a little bit different. Example. There's an example. Okay, let's use that instead. MySQL connect. Yes, I have that. Don't care about the errors. It's fine if it breaks things. Now, so we create a query. And we're going to rub out all this stuff. Actually, this works slightly different. Right, now we're going to rub out all this stuff and just do select everything from names. Okay. Oh, it works slightly different. If result equals MySQL. Right, that's running slightly different. So we're going to use a for each instead. want to see what it does actually. Result equals MySQL query, select everything from names. And I'm just going to dump that straight out and see what it is. See what's in it. See what it does. Nothing. Right. Why did it do nothing? It's tail, var, log, PHP, FPM, error log. So we got a fatal error. Class MySQL not found. So the reason for that is that we did not actually tell PHP how to talk to MySQL. So now we need to install that. So I'm going to use yum install PHP blah MySQL I. Yum is not spelled with a J. Yes, you can hear all those printers going. How many are running? 1, 2, 3. There's 4 running at the moment. Right, there's MySQL. There we go. That'll do. Yes. And then we'll restart HTTPD. Okay, and now I should get. Let's see. We do a tail on that again, but this time I'll make the tail live, so I can just trace it as errors happen. Reload. Okie dokie. Permission denied. Okay, when you install a new fresh server, usually there's something called SE Linux installed as well, which is a security thing created by the NSA in the US. I don't know what's in it, but it really annoys me, so I'm going to turn it off. So that's in etc SE Linux config, and I'm guessing this is what's called it. So enforcing, I'm going to change that to disabled. And to make that work, I need to reboot that server. So reboot. That shuts me out. And we'll log in again. Blind people on that terminal, please. Full screen, Kalon. Full screen. I mean, I could make it bigger, but that means making everything else smaller. I'll do that. Better. Right, now I should be able to get back in, and I'm in. Okay, let's I need to restart. I need to start the server and start the database again because I didn't actually tell them to start on boot. Service PHP FPM start, service HTTPD start, service MySQL D start. The D stands for daemon. That's a daemon with a D-A-E, not a D-E. Okay, so now, Boolean, false. Woo, that's something. So what's going on there? Let's do another tail and see what happened there. There's no error, it's just not doing anything. Alright, var ww html. Let's look at the code again and see what we did wrong. Right, so it just creates a query. Now, back to my example. Select name from printf result equals, but if result is false, select everything from names. Did we call it names? We did not call it names. We called it users. Way stuff. I see stuff. So what do we got? Current row, field count, lengths. So it's kind of a general overview of what the field is actually coming back with. Now let's see what did they see for next. So result num rows. Now that's another query. Where's all the fetchy stuff? I want the fetchy stuff. Num queries. Right. Now there's something in here called fetch, I think. MySQL I. How is it that things have changed so much since I started doing this stuff? MySQL I fetch array. MySQL I fetch array. There, that's what I want. Okay, there, and then there we go. Alrighty. So now users equals result fetch array. And you need to tell it which. Oh wait, why do I need that? MySQL line none. Right, yeah, I wanted it as an associative array. Right, there's a difference here. Actually, I'm going to do all three, just to show you the difference. These are what's called constants, so they actually equate to numbers. They like that'd be 1, that'd be 2, and this one would probably be 3. Not for the obvious reason that you think 1, 2, 3, 4. Not because of that, but because of Boolean math. So it's that if you take 1 and 2 and add them together, you get 3. So it's a different reason. Now I am going to dump each one of those. So var dump users, and I'll do the same for these ones as well, and we'll see what they do. I've got 1 null null. Why did that happen? That happened because of cursors. A cursor is that basically if you're making a query and you say, all right, give me the data from it, then it gives you the data, and then you say, all right, now give me the data for it, which is what we're basically doing here. Well, the server thinks like, well, I already did. I'll go on to the next set of data. Oh, there is no next set of data. Well, then you're getting nothing back, and that's where you get null from. It doesn't know to go back to the beginning. So you could use something called a rewind to go back, but I'm not going to bother. Anyway, we see here it's a numeric array that was returned here. I've got a 0 and a 1. So I'm puzzled for a reason that I'm just going to test something here. MySQL names. No, it's not names, it's CoderDojo. Now, insert into users set name equals Amit. And we'll also do Caleb and Andrew. Now, if I do select everything from users.
That's all here.
Sorry, just a moment.
What's up? I'm back for Dundalk.
Dundalk, Dalgan, is it?
Dundalk, yeah, we call it.
That's staying there.
Alright,
200 for there. There you go.
I'll bring that box back to you.
Thank you very much. Good deed for the day. Right, so now you can see that we have 4 entries. K, Amit, Kalon, Andrew. Now what does that say in here? Now you can see something different. So we've got the first one is a 0 and a 1. The second one, now remember, I'll explain this again in a moment. The second one is that, which is ID, not a 0, an ID and the name, but also it's a different value. See that? Amit, okay, and then the third one is Kalon. But look, Andrew's not in there. Why is that? So the reason for that is that we made 3 requests. We're fetching an array. We're fetching a row. We're saying basically give me the data, and then give me the data, and then give me the data, and each time it's giving you a row of this query, select everything from users, but then it's moving on to the next row for the next query. But also because we're using a different form of return, so we've got numeric, associative, and both, we've got 3 different types of results. So 1 begins with numbers, 0 and 1. The second one is associative, ID and name, and the third one actually gives you the numbers and the associative. Now I'm only interested in the associative arrays. So let's just use that one there. Now we're going to make this into a loop, so it goes through them all one by one. All right. So we'll do while users equals. Now remember, when we did if we do a query or a fetch and it has no result, it's going to return a false. So in that case, false will get pushed into users, and false will then trigger this while to break, so it'll go out of the loop. So let's see. I'm going to echo out some HTML, UL, and because we're doing some hacky code here, I'm not going to be secure about this. So I'm going to do something like echo name. And in fact, I'll put the ID at the beginning, just so we can see what's going on. Now, so we got K, Amit, Kalon, Andrew. Now, what did I mean when I said I'm not going to be secure about this? Well, let's do something weird here. I'm going to create another entry in here. Insert into users, set name equals now. What happens? What happens if I actually reload this page? So why did that happen? Well, where's the rest of that gone? So the reason that happened is that I did not do what's called escaping. I didn't escape the text as it's being put out onto the page. So if we look at the source code of this page, then you can see that this fifth one here is actually just HTML. So the web page actually the browser thinks this is proper HTML, so it runs it. And we've got a script there. Now I'm not doing anything really bad with the script, I'm just saying ha 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 with it, but let's get to that. We'll get to that. Make some bad stuff happen. Alright, so for now I'm just going to remove that one. Delete from users where ID equals 5. Alright, so that's gone now. Now, I'll just clean up that top one there, and then we'll start adding in some functionality. So get rid of that var dump. Now, so a little bit of functionality. I'm going to add in something saying add name. Or add user. So we'll create a small form. Right, so that gives us a little form here where if I fill in something here, I'm just going to open up the web inspector so we can watch what happens when I fill something in here. So, who else have we got? Evan. Even code's laughing at me. Yes, it's not just the code. Right, Evan, submit. So, file not found. So that's fine, that's because we didn't write it yet, but let's have a look and see what does this do. If I click on that and go into headers, you can see it's after pushing in Evan as the name. Now let's make that do something. So I'm going to copy the code here, the index, into add user.php, and the reason I'm doing that is because I'm too lazy to rewrite this little piece of HTML or a piece of code here. So we're connecting to that, and that's basically all I need. So I need to create a new query. Insert into users set name equals, and I'm being insecure again, and I'll show you what that means in a couple of minutes. Post name, and then we're just going to run that query. Don't need this stuff. And then we'll just redirect right back to the front page. So how do you do that? Header, location, that should do it. Right, let's try that again then. Go back and click submit. Oh, I've got your password. Very good, somebody hacked me. I like that. Okay, don't change anything, please. Who was that? Who did that? Who's Flopper? Flop air. Awesome. All right. So now what we can do is you can put in weird stuff. So okay, very organic. Okay. So now I can put in the code directly. So script. I'm not going to do an alert because they're actually obtrusive. I'm just going to do something like console.log. Haha. Right. Okay, go. There we are. Hello. Okay, but look. Haha. I'll reload that page. Right. So now this is coming from that. Okay. Now, when you log into a place, I'm going to show you a little piece of hacking that can be done with this. When you log in to a website, what usually happens is a username and password might be stored. They might be stored. This is one way of doing a login. There are many different ways. But one way of doing a login is that your username and password might be stored locally in local storage or in a cookie or something like that, and they might get sent with each request. But if they're sent over HTTPS, you might think it's secure, so that's all you need. Well, no. And now we're going to figure out how can I get stuff from your local storage into my machine. Okay. Well, I'm going to start off by setting up. I want to create something where you can store in a small message, which will only be stored on your machine. It will not be sent anywhere else. Okay? Until I hack you. Okay. So, no, don't do that. Stop that. Okay. So, I'm going to create something here. All right. I'm making this up as I go along. I don't know what I'm doing. Label, right. I'm gonna keep this simple. Okay. All right. Name. I'll just keep it as name. Give this one an ID equals local storage name. Now I need to have some JavaScript for this one. So script var el equals document dot get element by ID ls name. El dot add listener, event listener. So when it's changed, I want to grab what's in it think that's how you do it. Just output it there. And then I'm just going to set it into local storage dot name equals file. Okay, we'll keep it as simple as that. Right, so now I have this new local storage thing. Now just first off, I'm going to just do this local storage. If I type local storage into the web inspector, you can see that it's completely empty. Yeah. I know. So, Jesus, I mean, you show a little thing and everyone thinks, oh my gosh. No, these are little tricks. Like, you should know these tricks. If you don't know these tricks, learn these tricks, because, you know, they're useful. Right, so there's nothing in local storage right now. Now, hopefully I didn't break my code in some way. So I'm just going to type test and press enter. What's that? That's line 22. So it actually did get run. It says 22, but I'm on 32 here. Oh yeah, because of the PHP. Right, but that means that if I clear this and I type in local storage again, now we have something in there. We've got test in there. But that's on my machine. It's not on yours. All right. If you do the same, go down to that section there and just type whatever you want into there. That's on your machine, not on mine. So how would I grab it from your machine using what we know already up here? Well, I'll show you. Right, so I'm just going to put in a little line above that because it looks a bit strange. Okay, I'm going to show you. Now, I'm not doing any more code on that. I'm going to do the code now in this part. It's in add user. So, this is a hack. Now, I'm not going to even use script. I'm going to use image. Image source equals HTTP. And I'm going to take this IP address up here. So if you had a server, you could put in your address and hacked local storage. Image source equals, no, I need to use a piece of script for this. Document.get tag name. This might work, I'm kind of guessing here. No, I'm going to leave that out. Let me think. I'm just going to use a document write instead. Yeah, document write. Yeah, that'll work. Image source equals, yes. Plus local storage dot name. Now, if you were doing this for real, you probably wouldn't write all that just in the input box. You might write it down here instead. So this is a hack. Script document write. So just to see, does it make sense to you? And yep, and that looks good to me. So script and submitting it. Now, so did that work? Where is it? Has somebody been breaking my things? Right. MySQL, right. Yes, the reason that did not work is because I made one small mistake. because I'm doing escapes, if I load up the add user again now, I'm just going to show you the mistake I made. I'm going to run this again. So put this is a hack, and I put it into this add user and press submit. So now that's the query that's being run. Whoops, not that. What? Cancel. That's the query that's being run. Control U, that's it. That's the query that's being run. Insert into user set name equals. Now this is important. See that quotation mark? That quotation mark should not be repeated until the end of the query. But look, I've got one there as well. And I've got another one there. And then we have it there. So, I'm going to change my line here so that the double quotes are actually backslashes around them. Like that. Now, the reason this is working is because we know that this query is being escaped. Actually, I'm going to add in a little piece of code, which you would normally do anyway. When you're doing a query like this, you would escape your code. Now, escaping means to make it safe. So, if I used to do add slashes around that. Now, I'll show you an example later on of how you could how you could hack if somebody forgot to do that. But for now, it's just breaking things, it's getting in the way. So I'm just going to do that properly now, and then we'll go back and try this this thing again without the weird hacky things here that I had to do. So let's do that. Put that in there. Submit. And I forgot to. This is a hack. Okay. So this should have done something interesting. I'm just gonna. Yes, it did. Okay. This is cool. If I watch my logs, so I'm gonna look at the HTTPD logs now. Now, what do we see here? I'm going to grep it for hacked local storage. Right. So what do we see here? Oh, I see somebody has put in undefined. So somebody didn't bother putting in the local storage. Somebody has T'd. This is coming from your computer. This is something that was secure on your machine, and now it's on my machine. I have it. Now, remember, usernames and passwords can be stored in local storage. Like, people might do that. But if I can hack so that if you visit a page, I get your details, that's a hack. Right, so that's what happens if you were to fill in something in, like, let's say I put in username is user1. Password is. So that's now in my local storage, and if I reload the page, ooh, I've got your details. Alright, that's one hack. How do I stop that? Well, the way you stop that is to get rid of this this bit here. What's that? Oh god, no. Yes. So we make sure that when you're outputting some HTML, it actually is HTML, and that's really simple to do. Some people don't do this. This is why you should just check on this and see, are people doing it. I'm not saying you should do this, but it's fun. Okay, so what we want to do is, when you're echoing out the users, you know that the user ID is going to be just a number because that's how we defined it in the database. But the user's name, that's where we're having our fun here. You don't want people having fun here. You want people putting in proper names. So we're going to do a HTML special cars around that. Now let's see what happens if I reload this page. Okay. So we can see that that was probably me. That was me. Okay. So you can see all the hidden bits now that people were putting into the user. And you can also see now why we restrict the size of people's names to what's actually necessary. Because if you let people write books, they will write books. Alright. Panic, yes, put it in for you. It doesn't show it yet. Yeah, I've got your details. Alright. So, that's all in the database, by the way. Let's have a look at the database. Where's my database? It's all there. Right. So next, right? Let's do some more queries. Let's say that we did create a username and password field. Okay, and we want to create a login, and we're going to do something very, very simple here. All right, so I'm going to edit that table now. So we'll just describe users, and you can see you've got an ID and a name. I'm going to edit that and add a password field. Alter table users, add password, and I'm going to keep that short. So I'm just going to be a little bit smarter on this. The normal length that you would give a password field is 32. And there's a reason for that, which I'll get into later on. Maybe. 32. I'll give you a hint. Salted hashes. You look that up, you'll find out what I mean. Alter table users, add password, varchar 32. So now we look at the description. We can see we've got this new password field. Now I'm going to create. I'm just going to artificially put in. I'm just going to put in a password, right? Actually, I don't even need to put in a password. This add user bit, I'm going to add in another piece there, which is password, and you can just add in whatever you want in there. So we'll just add that index. And we'll just add in password. Input name equals password. And that goes into add user. So I'm just going to make this a little bit more readable as I do this. Okay, there. So now if we reload this page, you can see I've got add user, it's got name and password. So I'm going to put in user and password. User 1 password. Okay, so we've got user 1 there, and in the database we've got password stored as well. So user 1 password. Now, this is the most simple way of doing a user password thing. So you basically have it. This is in plain text. It's visible right there. I mean, if I was working for this company and I wanted to hack your bank account or your email or your whatever, people tend to use the same passwords everywhere. So if I can see your password, and you don't know by looking at this web page, you don't know how it's stored in the database, but I do because I'm behind the scenes. If I can see your password here, I can now use that password and I can check to see, did you use that same password somewhere else? I can log into your PayPal account, take your money. Okay, so there are ways around that, to make it a lot more secure, and I will get into that. It's called salted hashes. I'm back. What did I miss? Nothing. All right. So what I'm going to show you now is how can you, if somebody's not escaping their queries properly, how can we get around that in order to log into somebody else's account? Let's do that. So I'm going to create a new section in the index, and we're going to call it login. So we'll create it right down the bottom. And it's going to be a form. Just copy that form. And we'll call the file check login.php. So we've got the username and we've got the password, and it's just going to go in there now. So let's VIM check login. Start writing that file. I'm just going to read in everything from the add user and start changing it. So we'll say name is equal to, and I'm not going to write this securely. There's a reason I'm not. I'm pretending I don't know what I'm doing. Pretending. Password equals password. Right. Select everything from users where name equals whatever and password equals whatever. Now I'm just going to get rid of these add slashes again. And MySQL query, want to fetch that row. Oh, how do we do fetch array again? Just copy that. Right. Okay, so we're running the query and then we're fetching the array, and we're just going to output the array. And see what's in it. Now, what did I put in username and password? Let's check that again because I've forgotten. User1, password. Right. So, reload that page, scroll down the bottom. User1, password. If I got my code right, then this should give me the entire row from that user table. And it doesn't. Why? Because I've done it wrong, obviously. Let's check index again. Fetch. There's a query. You run a query, yes. Then users equals fetch array, yes. Okay, I think I'm right. Oh, yes. Oh. Right, okay. Let's try this again. Yay! So I've got ID, I've got name, I've got password, and then look at that, password. Now, what if I want to see somebody else's password? So let's say I don't know the password of user1. So let's say I don't know that password, but I do know how the server works. Let's say I'm guessing that these people haven't bothered querying things, they haven't bothered escaping things. Well, let's do a little bit of hacking on that. So let's type down what we think the query is going to be. It'd be something like select everything from users where name equals, in this case, user1, and password equals, let's say, the password, which we know is wrong. Now, how would we make that right? How would we make that actually work? So if we could maybe change that to copy the entire line, and all I'm going to do is change the password section. So I need to change what's in there so that it's completely valid. Let's try this. That might work. Let's try it. So I'm going to put that into here and submit. And look. So I didn't put in the password, and yet I've got the details of that person. Okay? Now, just to prove that, I'm just going to change this. I'm going to put in anything else, submit. Failed. Alright? But if you just put in, like, that into the password field, well, now I've hacked around it, because I know that they're not escaping the password, they're just checking it directly. They're basically taking what I gave them and sticking it directly into the query without doing any escaping. So I was able to use that and bypass it. Now in this case, the code is outputting all the details. Now it might not do that, but that's not the point of this. The point is I was able to log in without knowing the password. All I know is the username. Okay, there's a joke actually. There's a very good joke by Randall Munro based on this. Just a minute, I gotta find this. Let's see, XKCD. You ever heard of XKCD? It's really, really cool. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Alright, look at this. Right. Hi, this is your son's school. We're having some computer trouble. Oh dear, did he break something? In a way. Did you really name your son Robert apostrophe blah blah drop table students? Oh yes, little Bobby Tables we call them. Little Bobby Tables. Yeah, we've just lost a whole year's student records. I hope you're happy. And I hope you've learned to sanitize your database inputs. Yeah, so that's an example. That Robert apostrophe thing, that's an example of what I've just shown you here. So in that case, sorry. In that case, it's basically they're putting a semicolon on at the end there. You can see actually there's one there. Semicolon. They put the semicolon on there, and then they just add in a drop table, right, which removes the whole table. Now, there is some additional sanitation that happens in, let's say, MySQL, which doesn't, PHP and MySQL, which stops you from putting in two queries at the same time. But you can get around other, there are other ways of hacking things like that. All right. So, how would I stop that? Again, simple. You escape the code. So in this case, I'm just using add slashes. Now, if you're a lot more secure, then you might use something like MySQL, read escape, whatever. There are functions that actually do this, but they're a lot more complex than this. But you would build up a library of queries, a library of query handling code that can clean it up for you and make sure it's safe. But what I'm doing here with the add slashes, that's going to stop this from happening. If I try that now, it's going to fail. It fails. Why does it fail? Well, let's echo that out and see. So, select asterisk from users where name equals user1 and password equals, well, it's after sticking in that little symbol there, the backslash. That backslash in front of the quote means this is not a quote, it represents a quote. And so it should be put into. So you can see if those with the backslashes in front of them, if you ignore them, you can see now password is beginning with this and ending with that. So that's a very, very simple way of securing against that. Now, yeah, Scott Munro's books are fantastic, absolutely fantastic. He's got two books out called what if, where, you know, people ask him questions and he answers them, like, what if there was a drain in the bottom of the Atlantic? How long would it take for the water to go away? Or I don't know. Lots of questions. What if? Go to xkcd.com and you will be able to read all that stuff for free. It's fantastic. Okay, now, the password problem. Let's go back to that. So if I show you again what we have in users. If I could hack you, your PC, I would be rich. Yeah, you see, I've just shown you how to get past all that. So you don't need the password. So let's say you want, now the problem here with this database here is that I can see that password. And if I can see that password, now I don't care about your password. I don't care about your computer. Excuse me. Don't care about your computer. I don't care about your bank account. I don't care about your emails. I have my own problems. I don't care about yours. But other people that work for me might. They might be interested in hacking you. They might be interested in doing it just because they think it's funny. But you don't want that. So how can I stop my workers from seeing your password and yet allowing you to log in? Right. Well, in that case, we use salted hashes. Now, I'll explain both of those words. The only one left I need to read is Thing Explainer. Yes, Upcore 5. Salted hashes. Okay, a hash is a type of mathematical function which goes one way. It doesn't go the other. All right, and the most common example that people use is an MD5. So it's what it does is I'll give you a simple example of a hash of a mathematical one-way function is a modulus. All right, a modulus, also known as clock math. So if I was to say to you, for example, on the 12-hour clock, ignoring AM and PM, what time is 23 o'clock? Well, you come back to me and say 11. It's 11 o'clock. But if I was to say to you, well, here's 11. What is that on the 24-hour clock? Now you don't know. It could be 11, it could be 23. There are multiple answers. So that's what's called a one-way mathematical function. And as far as I'm aware, every single mathematical function uses a modulus in it like that. So it's their modular functions. So the MD5 is an example of a function which uses a modulus in order to bring it right down, bring a huge document right down to a 32 character code, which is pretty unique. You know, if you were to write down a different code on every single atom in the universe, you'd still have room left over. You'd still have more codes that you can write. So you could have a separate MD5 code for every atom of the universe. You're unlikely to have two in the same database that are the same. Having said that, they're still not secure, and I'll show you why. So let's say we change our password code so that it stores them as MD5s. So we've got add user. I'm going to go into add user. Now, instead of storing the password just as a plain password, I'm going to hash it as an MD5. Alright, and I'm going to echo this out so you see exactly what it is doing. In fact, I'll echo out the whole thing. Echo SQL. And we'll just cancel this location thing again. Now, I don't need to escape the MD5. And the reason for that is that all MD5s are composed of the numbers, all MD5 in ASCII characters are composed of the numbers 0 to 9 and the letters A to F, because it basically represents a number. And it's writing down that number in hexadecimal. So MD5. Simple. Now, so we'll go into this now. We're going to create a new user called MD5 user 1, and the password, I don't care what that, in fact I do care what that password is. Pass2. I need to remember that because I'm going to use that in a moment. So I'll just write that down here. MD5 user 1 pass2. Submit. Oh, I made a mistake. What mistake did I make? Password, pass2. Password, MD5. Oh, I've called it MD5 here, and I've called it pass up here. Well, there you go, that would be it. Right, we'll try that again. I'm going to just remove my copy the user here. Okay, that's not going to work, whoever did that. Alright. So we'll try this again now. Okay, so now it's inserted, and that's our password. So now if somebody's looking at this, if I've got an employee that's looking at this, and I don't want them seeing the password, now they're looking at this and thinking, well, I don't know what the password is, so I'll just go do something else. Maybe I'll actually do some work instead. Except that it's not safe. But I'll show you that in a moment. I'm just going to show you how first would we check now against your password. So if I try to log in now with that, it would fail because the code that we have at the moment doesn't know how to use that. So if I use MD5 user 1 and pass2, if I use these to log in, you see it failed, no. And that's because it's putting in the password there in plain text, but we don't want that. We want the MD5 version. So you want to check, is the MD5 version equal? So let's just check that again. Check login. Right, so we'll change now. There's password. I'm going to change that to MD5 of post password. Don't need the add slashes anymore. Alright, now reload. Why did that fail? Oh, yeah, there. Because I made a mistake. Why am I doing that and I'm not using them? That's silly. Please use them here. There we go. Reload. Right, now we get a result back. So what we did here is we take the password that's given. The password is given in plain text. And then we translate that into the MD5 version of that. We run the mathematical function on it. And if our result is equal to what we have in the database, then that means that they may be the same password. Now remember what I said, that there are so many different combinations, like 11, for example, in the clock. If I was to say to you, well, my password's 11, and they run the mathematical function by basically dividing by 12 and taking the remainder, and you know the remainder is 11, well then, yeah, that's right, okay. But if I say 23 and you divide by 12 and the remainder is 11, then yeah, that's also right. That's two passwords that match. That's what's called a collision, an MD5 collision. If I was to, remember I said earlier on that you can have a separate MD5 code for every single atom in the universe, and you will have room left over to have more atoms with their own code. Well, that doesn't mean that there are no atoms with the same code. It's just that it's very unlikely that you'll find them nearby. It's very unlikely that you'll find them ever. But it is still possible that you will have two completely different usernames or passwords that have the same MD5 calculation. But now let's get back to this. So I've just run this through MD5, and we come up with this, and you think it's secure, but it's not. And the reason for that is that there are people out there that have taken every single common password and they have run MD5s against them, and then they record them in big databases called rainbow tables. So I'm going to take that and see if I can figure out what is its password. So I'll run a search. I'm just going to run a search for rainbow table. Now, is there a rainbow table? There's one there. Online password crack. There, we're just going there. I'm just going to put in that. I'm not a robot. I swear. Go. Well, look, there's my password. So that wasn't very secure now, was it? So this is one of the reasons why you're asked when you're creating a password, don't use a normal word. Don't use one word. You know, if you're going to use a word, change a few things about it. You know, use some numbers in places, use some symbols. You just make it unlikely that anyone would ever put it into one of these databases. You know, there are people that go in and don't just think like, oh, if I take the word dictionary and I'll change the first I to a 1, haha, it's secure. No, it's not. Because there are people out there that will literally take every single word in a dictionary and they'll do that. They'll run an MD5 against all the words. Then they'll also do things like they'll take all the syllables, or all the vowels, and change them into numbers, and they'll do the same for every single word in the dictionary. You know, they'll put numbers at the end, dictionary 1, dictionary 2, dictionary 3, they'll put numbers like that. So anything that you think makes your password more secure, just really think about it. Because I think like the only really way that you can make a password secure is misspell it. Because you're not going to find that in a dictionary if it's misspelled. Misspell it, have a few words, and other things. Actually, XKCD did a thing on this as well. You know, they basically said, look around, you find four different things, 4 words, and put them together. Because what you're basically doing is, let's say you've got 1,000 words in the dictionary. Let's say there were only 1,000 words in the dictionary. Let's say you then take one random word and another random word, and you put them together. Well, now, in order for somebody to have the rainbow table equivalent to that, their database is suddenly 1,000 times bigger. And let's say you do it again and again, well, that's 1,000,000 times bigger. So get a few words, put them together, and then you're secure-ish for now. Okay. But rainbow tables. Okay. But just in case, how do we stop people from reading the MD5s in case somebody has put in a stupid password? Who here has the password? Because I've come across people that have used that. Right. Well, that's where salted comes in. Now remember I said salted hash, right? So we've demonstrated hashes, and we've also demonstrated that hashes are not secure. So how do you make a hash secure? Well, you do the equivalent of what I've just said, where you have 2 words. Except what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a word in there in front of your password, and then we're going to make it secure. But it's not even going to be a word. It's going to be... I'm going to take this code here. Alright. So I'm going to create a variable here called salt. Now watch what I do here. I'm just going to stick it in front of your password. Just like that. So if your password was pass1, well, now it's this pass1. Alright, but it's still only going to be 32 characters in length. I'm just going to take this line again and copy it into check login. And we'll put it in front of the password again. Right, now let's check again. So, where's the code gone? There. I'm going to delete that user again and create it. Delete the user and create it again. Delete from users where ID equals 27. See, you've got two users in here. So somebody's put in these two here, and I'm guessing they're the same person because both of these MD5s are the same. Let's put them into this and see what they say. I'm not a robot. Crack the hash. Not found. Okay. So who was that and what did you put in? True randomness with us. Yes, that is true. Habit. So what Amit is saying there is that people are predictable. They tend to use passwords that they're going to remember. Or they'll write down a strange password and then they'll write it down on a piece of paper and stick it in front of them on their computer. So you can just walk around them and just take a photograph of their computer and now you know their password. It's very hard to come up with a password that is truly random and remember it. Okay, so I've deleted that user, I think, and let's just create a new one. So I'm going to create it with the same password. But you can see now that password is different. It's no longer C1572 whatever. It's A2A67 whatever. Now if I put that into the cracky thing, it's going to fail to find it. And the reason it failed to find it is because it is very, very unlikely that somebody is after taking this huge random string. It's not really random, but randomish string, and then created a rainbow table with that in the front. It's very unlikely. Now, they might have done it for some pseudo-random salts. So if you're going to use a salt, make sure it's a salt of a random thing. Like, for instance, you might use the current time in microseconds since 1970 plus a random number. You know, use that as the base and then do an MD5 of that, and that gives you a nice randomish number. Use that, and it's very, very unlikely you're going to get a random a rainbow table of that. Yeah, that's right. So if you just throw in a load of random numbers, it's very unlikely that the rainbow tables will have that. So what we've done basically here is we've created a secure way of storing the information so that, you know, my programmers, if I have somebody working for me and I don't want them downloading people's passwords, now they can't. I mean, the only way they can really do it is by changing the code so that if somebody's logging in, it actually records it somewhere else while they're logging in. That's a man-in-the-middle attack, man in the middle. But there are ways around that as well, which is that your developers will always be working on their developer stations, you know, developer setup. And then the code needs to be put through testing and eventually goes on to production, all right? But along the way, all the code goes through repositories, and it should get the one over by somebody. Somebody should be reading that code and checking to see, is this guy being are they trying to hack, you know? Just watch the code. So don't trust people, don't trust me, don't trust you. You know, especially as like, if you're in charge of a database of hundreds of thousands of people, well, it is so easy to grab their passwords. So you need to make it hard for people to do that. I mean, I'm always worrying about that. I'm always trying to figure out how can I stop me from doing that. How do I stop me from hacking? And if I could stop me from hacking, and I'm always thinking about this stuff, well then it's likely that whoever I hire will not have thought through these things as much as I've done. Okay, so let's have a few questions. Any questions out there? I know this is pretty dry stuff. I've just shown you how to write some bad code, how to make it a little bit better. Nothing yet. I've got a bit of a delay on this. I don't like the fact that there is a delay, but I can't really help that very much. I'll try and improve on the delay for next time. But let's see. I'll give you some examples, right? Of questions like of hack attacks. Now I've seen this is it's not even a hack, but there was a bank in America where this is ridiculous, where after you log in, they would redirect you to a page which had all your details on it. And at the top of the page, you would have, like, in this case, I've got adduser.php. Now, if I go back to the login page there, or the front page. So at the beginning of it, they might have something like question mark ID equals 123. And a guy that just knew a little bit about computers was looking at it and just thinking like, well, what happens if I put in 124? So he did. And he was suddenly looking at somebody else's account. Now is it hacking? It's not really hacking. But, you know, he got sued for it. Now, that's what I would call white hat hacking. Where you're just doing something very simple, and then you tell the guys that are in charge, like, I found this, that if you put in 124, well then you've got access to somebody else's account. Now, a good company is not going to sue just because of that. A good company is going to, a good company will say, oh, well, thank you very much. I will just go and fix that right now. A bad banker, yeah. A good company will take that information on board, will say, thank you very much, and in fact, here's a reward. And then we'll go and fix it. And actually, I hire people that can hack my stuff. You know, like I've got a guy. He's left to do something else at the moment because he was given a grant by the UK government to go do something. But you know, one of the reasons that I hired this guy was because he knew a reasonable amount about hacking. You know, he was able to look at things and saying, oh yeah, you could do like a CSRF there to grab the information from there, and we could use man in the middle here, and you know, we could grab that information by sticking in a SQL injection. SQL injection is what we did earlier on to get past the username without a password. So he knew the words, and that was, you know, that's pretty good. So like, it means that he's looked into these things, so maybe he can look into them for me. So I hire the guy, and I'm just like, I know he's a hacker, and that's fine by me because I look over everything he does. So I asked him to just look through my code now and fix it up. Fix up anything you see that I haven't spotted. And he did a good job. That's Mark Ireland, if you've ever heard of him. Good friend. Anyway, yeah, I hire hackers. You know, and I think anyone that gets hacked by somebody should immediately say, look, thank you very much. Can you tell me how you did it? And can I hire you, please? All right. Any questions? If not, we're going to cut this short. You can go have a banana or something. I'm going to drink some water. You may have noticed in the last class I drank too much just before. I had a cup of coffee and a lemsip, and that was not a good idea. All right. No questions. So this week we talked about hacking, and we did some simple examples of how to write some code from the naive side of things. Now, what I'm saying here is that when you're starting out doing web development, you're going to make all these mistakes, and some people don't learn from those mistakes, and there are a lot more bad programmers than there are good programmers. So all the things I've just shown you here, you are likely to find them somewhere online if you look. You are likely to find them. Just don't be that programmer. Be better. Now do you know? Okay guys, right. I'll talk to you next week. Actually, let's just see. What do you want to do in the next class? So we did pandemic simulations last time. How does it sound if for the next class we do simple web development, where I will give you all access to your own FTP environments. You can do what you want with them, and then we will keep them live. So they will be under the new Monaghan CoderDojo.ie website, which we set up there 2 weeks ago. And then you can have your own subdomain of that. You can do what you want with it. How does that sound? In 2 weeks. Basics to Bitcoin. Are you talking about making a Bitcoin farmer? Alright. I think that if you are working on Bitcoins, you are absolutely wasting your time. You're wasting your money. Because the amount of money that you will get from a Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum or anything like that, the amount of money that you're likely to get from that is going to be less than the amount of money you waste on the electricity. So you might as well just steal the money directly from your parents' pockets, because they're paying for the electricity. Don't do it. If you do want to make money on Bitcoin, the best way to do it is actually through the stock market. There are stock markets where the Bitcoins themselves are being sold, and stock markets work differently, so it's not the same. It's not like if something has a high value in stock market, it actually is worth a lot. It's not. But stock markets are kind of like a game. It's very hard to win against the stock market, because you're playing basically against a lot of other people. But it is pretty much a game, and you're less likely to lose a lot of money if you don't put a lot in. You're less likely to lose a lot. Anyway, no more questions. Okay, that I can see yet. I'm going to leave it at this, and I hope this wasn't as bad as last time. And I hope that next time will be even better. I think we will actually work on web development next time. Okay, so you'll be able to do all this yourself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all this code and write up something into a blog and stick it up on monaghancoderdojo.ie, so you can pretend that you've read it next time I see you. Okay, bye. How do I turn this off? There. Bye again.